Bien, ya estamos en directo. Well, good night. We're waiting for Dr. Dinkha to join us in this 14th episode of Go Beyond, and we're having free questions and answers. Yes. There she's joining.
Hello.
Hola, doctora, ¿qué tal?
Hola, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, good.
Yeah, people is getting ready to
Excellent.
sign in now.
Yes,
Good.
I'm excited. We have good questions.
We do, we do. So today we're on episode 14. We have an open questions and answers. We're going to reply to all your questions. We are one more Thursday with Dr. Dinkha. You're trying the filters.
I'm trying the filters, but it's not
I,
working.
I was playing with it
Cancel. How
before.
do you
You know,
cancel?
so we have very good
How do
questions
you
for
cancel
today.
these things? Wait. I don't know how to cancel. Leave.
She left. It's going to join back. Just 1 second and we will be back. Anyways, the purpose of this talk is to bring awareness and consciousness about the topics that are wandering in your heads and things that you would not normally ask to an open question. Hello back.
I'm not trying anything. I don't know.
Yeah, we will try it another time. We look great.
We look fine.
I was
The
saying,
light is better today.
yeah. I was
Yes.
saying we have very good questions and very confidential and like strong questions that maybe you wouldn't ask openly, but here like we give you a spot to open yourself, so it's going to be interesting.
Yes.
They're very good questions. So thank you one more time, one more Thursday, Dr. Juliet Dinkha, to join us
Thanks.
here in Kuwait. You're helping a lot of people already. The feedback has been amazing. And thanks for bringing closer to all this help, especially around these times with the corona mostly, which is more
Yes.
difficult to deal with everything. We will be doing an episode about corona and yeah, I'm doing spoiler. I'm spoiling on my own channel, oh my God. But let's see, question number one, of course, we're going to keep confidential, the people who ask the questions. So the first question, doctor, is what are common problems for which people seek for your help?
So the common problems that people come to a psychologist, I mean, there are many factors. Sometimes they're as easy as just because they want someone to listen to them that is confidential, someone that doesn't know them, that can give them some sort of a objective kind of an opinion. Sometimes, a lot of times I get people here that either they have anxiety, panic attacks, anxiety attacks, or that they're depression. There's a big number of people have depressive episodes or symptoms, and they don't really know that they have that. Some people, they have a new transition in their life, or they feel that they just woke up and have these insomnia or inability to really live a happy life. And they just want to be able to have someone to talk to them, you know?
I flipped.
I'm glad I'm not the only one that has these problems. So, I mean, there's a variety of sometimes they even you've got people that have gone to a psychiatrist because of medication, and the psychiatrist said you really need to have someone to talk to you and be able to, um, you know, to understand why do you feel the way you feel. So it could be a variety of things. Marriage problems. I do a lot of couple. I like couples. There's also family dynamics. Individuals. I don't really work with kids that much. I work with people that are like maybe 16 or 17 and above because I'm a professor, so I probably see a lot more young adults.
Yeah.
And young adults, I like them because they're trying to navigate between their identity, navigating between career decisions, stress, anxiety about graduating, perfectionism, fear of failures, loving yourself, confidence, self-esteem, issues with parents. You know, a lot of times kids, these young adults, they're not kids, young adults, they have issues with navigating their responsibility, especially in this country where the young adults or even the millennials want to live their life, want to make their career decisions, and you've got parents who are still very traditional. That's another thing is I see a lot of people, because I'm not Kuwaiti and I'm American, and I think a lot of times they like to come and talk to me about things that I'm not going to be judgmental. I don't do anything with, I don't really do a lot of things about religion. I don't feel like I'm qualified to bring in, and plus I'm not trained that way. We don't really bring in a lot of stuff that has something to do with, but I keep in mind traditions, culture, of course, but it's a place to talk to someone that is not going to judge you. I mean, people can tell me anything. I mean, at this age, and as long as I've had the experience, there's nothing someone's going to tell me that I haven't heard, or I'm not going to judge someone because they're having an affair and they're married, or people that are cheating or lying, or it's not my business to judge them. My business is to guide them, maneuver them to make decisions. And do you know how many people really have a hard time making decisions, or they make decisions too quickly? So, that's why people come to us psychologists, I think.
And couples come together?
Yes, couples come together. The way I operate is that, well, sometimes no, sometimes the wife comes or the husband comes, and then but what he's talking to me about, or what she's talking about, obviously it looks like a couple problem. So if it's a couple problem, I can't just work with one person without seeing the other one. So I tell her or tell him that I need to see her first. So maybe they don't know they need couple, but then I realize that, look, this is a couple problem. We need to really work on it. And then I have him inviting, she can come with him. And then I have one individual session with each one, because I have to have one separate, so that way they can tell me things without worrying about the other person hearing it. But once I start couple, I don't do anything individual. Sometimes I'll see one person, whoever initiated, but I don't see them separate and together. So I see them together all the time, because but then when I'm there and I recognize she has issues, he has individual issues, this is not the place to talk about it, because we don't have time. So I do recommend that they would go to somebody else for their individual issues, and I will work with their couple issues. And believe it or not, even on teletherapy, right? I do couple therapy even on teletherapy, on the virtual.
I think it's amazing, the virtual. It's just a support that it's when you need it, because sometimes for the time that we can make the appointment, let's say for anything, till the moment that it happened, you created a lot of emotions in between. So if the problem can be solved or work in the moment, it's much better, of course, than making any radical decisions, because sometimes.
Yes. And do you know what I notice is that nowadays more and more people are accepting the idea of coming together. I even see people before they divorce, like somebody will call me or come to see me and say, I'm going to divorce her. And I say, don't make that decision. Of course, it's not my decision to make, but I say to them, a lot of times people make decisions when like right now, people shouldn't be making any decisions under COVID-19, because we're stressed, we're anxious. Our life has changed. We might have changes in our employment, career, changes with our relationship, and not seeing family. I don't think this is the right time to discuss and say, I want to divorce him, I want to leave him, or leave her. So what I do is that before they even get a divorce, I say, let's do it together. Let's talk about the issues. I mean, I'm not in or out for divorce. I think people need to do what makes them happy. But I think that nowadays people are coming to therapy before they can make that final decision. Yeah. And maybe sometimes it really works. Sometimes I see couples that are just young. They just got married. And I feel like it's a shame that you want to give it all up quickly. Yeah. So I try to support them, because if they go to the family, what happens here is they let the family interfere. And of course, family, they take sides, even though they don't want to. Or sometimes you go, I mean, it's like you go and you complain about your husband. And even when they go back together, her family already have this, bad image of him. So and then he doesn't feel comfortable. So so family plays a big role here. So he's never going to want to go back to them or do a family thing. So I think a lot of times leave the family out of it, get a therapist, a psychologist, let her work out these things. And then, because once you tell the family the problems exist, you know, she or he will feel embarrassed. It depends on what the problem is, to go back to her in-laws, or for him to be feeling this welcomed in his in-law house, even though, you know, they might have supported him. But like, I mean, I wouldn't want someone else to know my, you know, my issues and then have to go back and act like it's normal. And so people should use it before they make decisions about divorce, separation, you know, marriage. You know, if you want, before you get married, maybe you should see a psychologist and figure out if you're feeling, you know, this is not the right thing. Talk about it. Why not?
Yeah, not making decisions either when you're too happy or when you're too angry.
Yeah,
It's just not the good moment.
And this is not the right time anyways. Anyway, I don't think you should, you know? Yeah.
So second question, how to overcome resentment in a relationship and partnership?
You know, I think resentment is a personal, you have to have a personal ownership to that resentment. Now, we could say that I'm resentful because he did this to me, or he did that to me, or she did that. I think a lot of times people harbor resentment because they're more angry at themselves than the other person, and they don't realize it. You know, I could be resentful because he has done a lot of things to hurt my feelings. I mean, that makes sense. But I also have to own, I mean, I'm very big, you know, you and I were having conversation about this. I'm really big at putting people, giving people the responsibility for your own feelings. You can't say, my partner made me feel this way, or, you know, I'm resentful of him because he did this, this, and this, because I also had a decision to accept that, or whatever it is that I'm resentful about, right? Yeah. So if I'm resentful because he cheated, and I'm resentful because I believed him, so where is the problem? Is the resentment because of him, or is it the resentment that I'm angry at myself because I was able to tolerate living in a situation I shouldn't? So a lot of times I think people use resentment to not let go of the past, or they use resentment because they don't want to trust again. They use resentment because they don't want to make a decision about the relationship. And I think people need to grow up and you know, do an ownership of their resentment. Are you resenting him because he's been abusive? But the decision, now the behavior he did is not justified. But I'm having resentment because he did that to me, means that I have to own the idea that I took this decision to stay in this relationship. If we're talking about relationship, you know, a lot of wives are resentful because they gave up their career, مثلا. Yeah. In this country, let's say you are in this country, it's automatically, I mean, let's not say everyone, but it's assumed, well, maybe in other countries too, that when you are, you know, yeah, we're here. So I feel, I even hear, like, for example, if a woman is a career, let's say she's a doctor, he's a doctor. Let's just say that, right? And when they get married, there's an automatic expectation that when she has kids, she'll give up her career, right? Because there's a belief, you know, especially in this culture, that no one's going to raise your kids better than you. Okay, well, maybe that is true. Maybe
that's worldwide stuff.
Yeah, worldwide. But, you know, the idea is that automatically. So let's say she gave in to that belief. I mean, we're talking about resentment, right? So I had a case where she's a doctor, he's a doctor, and they got married. She had a baby. So, of course, they, you know, they give her 3 months, whatever, 70 days. But then she needs to go back to work. Well, no, the decision was made that you don't need to go back to work. You need to stay home until this baby goes 3 years to go to a nursery, whatever. But then she's like, you know, so this was before I knew them, this happened. But then later on, I mean, when you're a doctor, this is a skilled kind of a job, just like us, and, you know, academic. These are jobs that need practice. And academia, for example, I can't just like take time, 5 years, 10 years away from teaching and then go back and want to be a professor, because I need to publish, I need to research, I need to update my information. And Then I made the decision. Okay, well, he pushed me to make that decision, so I made the decision. Am I resentful of him because I gave up my career? You could, but the decision ultimately was yours. She just didn't want to take the decision because she knew she would upset him, and she knew that it was expected culturally that she would stay home to take care of her kids. Granted, whatever the situation is she resentful of him because he made her give up her career? Yes. Is that resentment more about me accepting that decision? Yes. So when you have a resentment in a relationship, the couples need to take ownership. You cannot blame the partner. Yes, he might have put the guidelines. Yes, he might have pushed you. Yes, you didn't want to get divorced and stay with the kid. Just accept that. And instead of saying, he did this to me, he made me give up my career, I was doing really well until I met him. Now, granted, these criteria were there. I'm not denying that. But should I take responsibility for my decision of giving in? Yes. I think people are not taking enough ownership for their decisions. And we're very quick at building on harboring resentment because we want to be angry at this person because they hurt us, or they avoided us from being successful, or they stopped us from growing professionally or whatever. Or maybe this person has stopped me from having social gatherings or social friends or whatever, interpersonal. He did. There is no question about it. But I accepted it. Therefore, I need to live with that decision. I cannot just continue to remind him, well, I gave up because of you. I did this because you told me. This is when resentment comes. And then what does happen with resentment is anger. So I tell couples all the time, so you're resenting, you made the decision. Yes, he asked you. And what is this resentment doing right now? I mean, why are you harping? There's a reason why we hold on to resentment. Is it that we're punishing the other person? Yes. Are we resenting to hold on this anger so we don't trust this person again? Could be. Are we resentful because we need to protect ourselves as a defense mechanism? Yes. It's all of that. But we need to own it. You can't just like move on and think about, it's the same as we're constantly, because it's easier to be a victim than to say to myself that it was my fault. I accepted this. And because it was my fault, let me correct it. No, the resentment harbors, there's a lot of resentment in partnership. And I think that if people will own it, then they will feel more powerful. See, resentment makes you feel powerless and helpless. And therefore, you can sit around feeling sorry for yourself because you don't want to motivate to change your situation. And in my mind, I don't agree with that.
That's a great answer. What do you think, guys? Put some thumbs up. That was
really.
a very good answer.
All right. I'm
Very,
a bit of
very
a
good
I mean, I'm definitely I might not. I'm just like, maybe some people will not be okay with the way I approach things, but I really am big at. I mean, even me for
Taking
myself.
responsibility, yeah.
I mean, I'm big at taking responsibility. I'm big at saying, yes, I was put in a lot of situations where I had to change my path, but ultimately, who am I angry at? Myself. I'm not. He didn't put a gun in my head and said, look, you got to sit at home. You got to do this. I accepted it because I didn't want to have a fight. I didn't want to get a divorce. Okay, fine. Just accept it the way it is. You can't just like continue living all your life.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like where I see people who are 42 and over 40 still blaming their father or their mother because they were bad people. They were. I have no question about it. What can we do now? Because if we continue to use these kind of defense mechanism because we're afraid to grow, then let's admit to that. I just want people to admit, why do we do that, right? But if we continue to say it was because my father, was an alcoholic, or because my parents were abusive, or because, I never had anyone to love me as a child. Okay, that's true. But what can we do about it now? I mean, because now we're independent, we're adults. And how much longer can we live in this path of like, I didn't have a normal childhood. There's a lot of people that don't have a normal childhood. They still moved on and grew as people, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. Amazing one. This is a long one and
Oh,
has sub questions. Okay.
okay.
All right. Let's say you stop going to college because you
Mm.
had a kid and your husband has good enough job where you do not have to work. How do you not blame your family? So you stop going to college because you had a kid and your husband has a very good job where you don't need to work. So she's blaming her family for it.
So she's blaming her husband because she stopped work. She stopped going to
She stopped
college.
college to raise
Oh,
the kids.
so
Basically
she's
what you were saying
so
also.
she stopped, and or maybe because sometimes, like in this culture, I've noticed that she will stop going to college because she gets married.
Hmm.
And then, and so if she gets married and he says, no, you can't go. I mean, in some families, it's not all of them, some traditional families, because they get, I mean, because I teach, I hear a lot of stories
No.
from my
Hmm.
students. So a lot of times my students, for example, nowadays I think the mentality has changed because a lot of the guys are looking for wives that are educated. Back in the days, the man needed to be educated. The woman didn't need to be educated because most of the time the question is, why do you need to be educated? Just finish high school because you're going to raise kids anyways. You're not having to do. Now it has changed in this 21st century where most of the guys are looking for women that are educated because they want to be able to have a nice conversation and communication. And when you're educated, you can at least carry some sort of a conversation. I mean, most of the time. But the idea is that sometimes she doesn't. Like sometimes she's almost finishing college, she gets married, and the family doesn't allow her to continue. He doesn't allow her to continue. And then she stays home and to raise the kids. Again, that goes back to what we're saying about resentment. The situation already happened. Blaming my family for accepting that I get married before I finish college or without making a deal with the in-laws, like, look, my daughter is still in college. This is a very big requirement for us that you can get married, but make sure she finishes school. Especially here, the government helps you with
Yeah.
your scholarship. So he doesn't have
No
to be
excuse.
bombarded,
Yeah.
or he's not bombarded with financial obligation. Like I can understand if there's a financial obligation, but so the idea is that if they didn't make that deal and they said to her, you don't need to be in school, you need to marry, and so it happened. She got married, she didn't finish her college, and now he's making good money, and she probably wants to finish her school. Now if she's not married to someone that's supportive and will not allow her to finish school, this is something, it is difficult. I'm not saying it's not, but should I blame my family for doing that? How good does it do you to blame them? The situation is as is. I got married, I stayed home, he made good money, and I stayed home to take care of the kids. How about looking at the opportunity that you did
Yeah.
stay home, you raised your kids?
You're closer
I
to
mean,
them.
do you know, I've been seeing more and more increase of, we call them adult students who have been coming back to the university. I had one woman, she was there, her son was there
Wow.
at the university because she raised them. They're finished. They're in a university now. And she decided it's time for me to go back. And it was no problem with her husband because, why not? You don't have anything else to do. So she was, and we're seeing more and more people, in the US, you see them a lot. They're
Yeah.
student at
And they
large.
come with the kids. It's allowed in the US to go with the kid.
Yes. And if you have small kids in the US now, here, at least at my university, we don't have childcare. I used to work in Chicago, and the
Very
universities
windy.
there, and they
Super
used to,
windy.
and our university actually had a daycare for our students to come, and because some of them are that are adult students, and they had kids, so they would put them in our nurseries
Amazing.
until they can finish their classes because we don't have the access of daycare that we have here. But the question is that should I be mad at my family? You could be mad at whoever you want and you can stay mad for the rest of your life. How is that helping you? I always ask people like, okay, you're right. How is that helping you? Why are you harping on the past? Again, there's a reason. And that's what I ask people to look into. You being angry at your family is helping you in which way? It is helping you. I mean, it's not really helping her, but it's doing something. And people need to really sit within themselves and think, being mad at my family gives me a reason to be mad. It gives me a reason to feel sorry for myself. This is a defense mechanism so I don't get closer to my family or my husband who did this to me. You know, what is it? Call it as it is.
Yeah.
Don't sit around and trying to feel that I was a victim. Were you a victim? Maybe at that time. Are you a victim now? In my mind, no.
And they
Because
have
now,
online schools as well nowadays.
of course. I mean,
Oh.
but here in Kuwait, it doesn't accept online degrees, unfortunately.
Okay.
I mean, there's a percentage, I think, or 80, or I don't know, I'm not sure, but there's a very small percentage of online. The bigger percentage has to be face to face. Now, will that change? I'm hoping it will change with with coronavirus and COVID, because we're going to have a lot of kids that just graduated high school. They might not be able to attend,
Yeah, true.
US, at least with US schools, because most of them are going to start online. Will the ministry here change that? I don't know. I hope, but actually, I don't agree with full term online schools, because I feel like there's something about having. I mean, for bachelors, I think once you have that. Of course, for graduate program, it's a different. But for bachelor, there's something about face to face. There's something about what you learn in the university
Compromise,
sense, or in the
going
university
there,
setting, yes. Or
relating with the people.
of course. But will you be able to finish some of your stuff online? Yeah, why not? And even if you can't, what else can you do? Like I always ask people, okay, what else can you do? We can change the past. People hold on to the past because it's their way, it's the easiest way to not be held accountable.
Yeah.
And I'm definitely, like I said, I'm big on holding people accountable for their decision. So the past is done, she couldn't go. Can you do something else online, like a certificate of some sort? It can be a degree, but a certificate. Can you get a skill of some sort? Is that a bachelor? No. Can you convince your husband after all these years to support you? Possibly. I don't know. Can you get counseling so that way you can find a different path? Yes. There are other options, but people don't want the other options because they're harder to think about. The easiest path is to blame my parents or to blame my husband for not letting me. It's the easiest thing to
No.
do because we're so good at it. Can you not think about, you can't change the past, we can't plan the future, we can only think of the present. This is why I tell them all, they've memorized it by now.
It's true now.
It's so
Live the
true.
present. Live the present.
Yes. So what can you do? Well, I hate my parents, I hate my husband for doing me this. And it just gives you a reason to either get divorced or live angry for the rest of your life. That's in my mind.
Dot.
That's it.
Next one. Can I heal myself with my thoughts, and how can I change them?
Can you heal yourself with your thoughts? Of course. Thoughts are not genetic. And remember, thoughts are things we've put in our mind or we've heard other people put them in our mind. Like when we were kids and parents being abusive or saying you're ugly, you're stupid, you're never going to
Oh,
make
that's like
it.
beliefs. Yeah.
Those are beliefs that become thoughts. Right? I mean, they're thoughts that become beliefs.
Thought, beliefs, and ideas. Yeah.
Yes.
Like they
Can you
change.
change? Of course you can change them. We can all reprogram our mind. I mean, reprogramming our mind, which we talked a little bit last time, I think about it. We can all reprogram our mind. Again, it takes motivation and effort. These thoughts that come into my mind, I have to start working on interrupting them. It's an interruption I have to do, which is distracting myself, which is writing new thoughts. The more we write new things and read it, the more the unconscious will start to implement the new stuff and get rid of the old stuff. But it's effort and it's time. There is no pill that I can give people. And this is probably why in this culture you find them, they would more rather go take a pill very quickly and go to sleep or numb themselves instead of putting effort. I can give you the ways. Yes, can our thoughts? Of course, all of us are bombarded with negative thoughts all the time. We're hard on ourselves. We're constantly critical of ourselves. Can I change them? Of course, you just got to practice. it takes a lot of practice. It takes practice of being mindful, realizing. So when my mind drifts to the past, the thought is how all of those bad things that have happened to me, I have to, once I realize I'm living in the past, or my thoughts are at least, I bring it back. And I say, okay, that's all gone. Let me think about good things. Let me write good things. Constantly replacing these negative thoughts, if they were negative thoughts. So I'm assuming that's she's talking she, he, whatever.
Yeah. Good
Right,
thoughts, be
negative
happy
thoughts.
with them.
Yeah, really.
Okay,
And
this is another long
yes.
one. Due to resentment in the relationships, some people have a secondary life in order to seek for happiness. If they're seeking happiness outside of the reality they're living, even if it goes against social norms, will it not make sense to live the unhappy life, to live the life that makes you happy? Ooh. I mean,
So they're living. So what the question is that this person is living
it
double
has
life.
resentment, and she has a secondary. She's saying that some people
So
have
because
secondary
she's
lives.
resentful, right? So because she or he are resentful in the
They have
relationship that they are
secondary
currently,
lives.
right? So they've decided to have another relationship. That's a secondary life,
Uh-huh. So
right?
they both have secondary lives instead, and they're happy
Instead of
outside
getting
of that,
divorced.
but they don't leave the relationship they're in, neither fix it. So they seek outside what they cannot find inside, and they resent the resentment inside, which that might be the reason they're seeking outside what they can find in the inside by the end. Oh, so it's
Right. So
but
this
it's just
person
saying
is
why they
saying,
don't leave it.
yeah, so this
Why,
person is
yeah.
saying, and instead of really working on the resentment that we have about each other, we have decided to bring a third party into our relationship and try to make sure that we live this happiness somewhere else, but still maintain this unity that we have, even though it's unhealthy.
And probably they don't know about the secondary one, I'm guessing.
Of course, neither one of
Because
them
it
would know.
say she put a parenthesis say cheating after long-term marriage.
Right.
That,
So what they're really talking
that was
about
a
is
very good question, by the way.
so
Long one.
they're talking about
Yeah.
cheating, right?
Yeah.
And justifying why I need to cheat is because I am resentful, I'm unhappy, but I don't want to be able to make a decision about my unhappiness. I seek happiness somewhere else. Which is, I mean, in my profession, I see that happens, and I've had my share of people talking about their affairs, especially couples, or having attention somewhere else. Now, I mean, again, I'm not the person to judge that, but look at the energy that we're investing here. We've got a small number of energy, and I have to, part of it already, it's like an investment. Part of that energy is going through my resentment with this unhappy marriage. And then another part of it is going for this other person who I have on the side. And then small percentage is going for everything else. Now, how healthy is that? Now, some people, and whenever I bring that up, is like, can you imagine like you're spending your investment in something that is unhealthy, which is the original relationship, and the affair is unhealthy also, regardless of how happy you seem to. Now, some people might disagree with me because they're like, I don't want to get divorced because of the kids and because of in front of people, I need to look like I'm married. That's fine, and I'm not here to judge that. But people need to understand living this false life, after a while is going to end up causing mental illnesses.
Yeah.
It's going to cause anxiety. It's going to cause a lot of panic, depression, because nobody can tell me that 100%. I mean, when I ask people about how much is this other relationship taking out of your time? Oh, it's not that much. I don't really see this person that much. But you're hiding and you're lying. And you're constantly living in this secret life, which is taking a lot of energy from you anyways, regardless if you accept it or not. And it's taking away from you being able to work on your relationship. So it's really not benefiting you. It is benefiting you right now because you think you're happy. But obviously this person doesn't want to make a decision about their unhappiness, and making a decision that I'm unhappy, which requires a lot of changes. And some people don't want to make that change because kids, because of family name, because they don't have the support. So they would rather live a separate life and be able. But the more they're living this separate life, the more resentment is increased in their real life. You got to understand that. Because when I sit between myself and realize that I'm feeling guilty because I'm lying and I'm living this double life, the only way to deal with my guilt is what? Is say, well, it's his fault. He made me because he doesn't give me love. He doesn't do this. He doesn't do that. He made me have a second relationship. And so we justify it and we justify it and we justify it until we get to a point where out of nowhere, this is why sometimes people out of nowhere, they've got, issues with guilt, shame, depression, sleep,
Illness.
eating. Of course, they have physical illnesses, a lot of them, because they are so stressed about never being. I mean, can you imagine having a secret? I mean, I've seen people that maybe they've been having an affair for 8 years or 9 years. So sometimes it's not even like 1 year or two. Can you imagine the lies that went into those 9 years? And to say that I'm staying for my kids. The other thing is people don't understand is that if your mind is somewhere else and you've created another life for yourself, how available are you to your kids anyways? Yeah. How available are you to your family? How much can you keep things balanced? It's hard. People think that they can because they've kept themselves. They think that they really are doing a great job. Something has to go, and I've had cases where people have had, like, let's say somebody has had an affair for maybe 8 or 9. I remember this individual, an affair for 8 or 9 years. Why do you think he was seeing? Why was he seeing me? Because he started to have panic attacks, started to have anxiety. A lot of times, unconsciously, we start to develop a lot of fears and guilt and remorse without really recognizing, even though there was nothing going on in the second relationship or the first one, nothing. They were still the same, but somehow, because this true self and false self start to separate so much that the anxiety starts to increase. And then the more we do it, the more we start to feel that, we're not being true to ourselves. And a lot of times people don't want to make a decision because the marriage is stable. It's comfortable. It's known. So if I leave this person for this person might not be the right one. They might leave me also. They might, It's so interesting. When I was in college, we had these 2 individuals that they were dating, but both of them met when both of them were married to other people. And so both of them met, they were neighbors. They met when they were married to other people. So they started to have an affair. Then she left her husband, he left his wife, got together. You would think this is the utmost, right? This is when I was in college. And they start to have problems. Why? Because he couldn't trust her, neither she can trust him.
Of course, yeah, I see that. Yeah.
So this sense of paranoia, like, well, if he did it, he cheated on his wife with me, she cheated on her husband with me. So this sense of like guilt and paranoia and this sense of like instability that you create with this lifestyle, it causes the other person not to feel safe. They're safe when you are already with the other person, because you can't have, you're either with this person or me, and but once you leave that person, a lot of times people feel that, and usually a lot of times they're with another person that they don't think he or she are compatible for marriage. Mm-hmm. But they're compatible because making you happy, because it's not a commitment. It's not, to me, it's something that, I mean, if you can keep it up, why not? It's not my job to say that. But I know from my experience, it causes a lot of confusion, fear, anxiety, ambivalence, distrust, At first it looks good, but think about, I mean, when you get older, it starts to get really hard to keep it up, to maintain it.
Yeah.
And like I said earlier, the energy, you got to think about your energy. I mean, this person's getting my energy. My relationship is taking my energy, which is unhealthy anyways, and this is unhealthy. So I get left by 20% that I could do for me. And that's why a lot of times people don't take care of themselves when they're running around lying from this relationship to this relationship, worried that they're going to get caught, worried what people will say if they find out. You know, I mean, for me, if you're that resentful and unhappy, make a decision. Tell the person I'm not happy, and you gotta make a decision. You can't live this false life forever. Remember
we don't
that.
make decisions. We always jump into the same conclusion. We don't make decisions. That this is for another life, because it seems we don't make the decisions, and sometimes when we make them is when we're burnt out.
Yes, yes, yes.
So
Very
why
true.
to go to the limit in order to make a decision when you're already forced to make that decision, instead of making the decision when you're starting to feel it? It's either we don't listen to our inner voice or our consciousness, because I think we know. I think inside, you know, when you have to keep with something and when you have to stop with something. And the longer you go, it's like playing the gamble. Oh, I
Yeah.
invested so much and now I'm going to stop. Oh, let's try again. I invested so much. So I think it's like the never ending story.
And you are investing a lot of energy in both relationships, and but then I mean, I don't know why people think that the other person, the other person is also feeling something is wrong. There's no way I could be 100% emotionally available for this relationship and 100% available for this relationship. I'm sorry, but it can't. We lie to ourselves a lot. We make a lot of excuses. I mean, I've had so many people, saying to me, "Oh, doc, he will never know. No, she will never know." But you're harming. It's not about the other person. It's about you, the psyche that you're in. You've developed habits that are not healthy. One of them is lying. One of them is distrust, And the funny thing is that because they are doing something wrong, they don't trust. They don't. Because they know that this thing is happening. And so imagine what toll is this taking on me. I mean, if it was my decision to make, I definitely will have to. I mean, I can't. Anyways, I'm not that type of person. I can't do this. I need to be true in my relationship for me, because I don't want to feel guilty. I don't want to feel remorse. I don't want to feel like I'm lying. I want to be free.
Yeah,
And all of these behaviors doesn't allow me to be free. I don't engage in them, to be honest.
exactly.
I don't feel like, I've always had this motto that if I'm unhappy in a relationship, I terminate, I close, I move on.
Yeah.
No matter how hard it is for me. And I think people need to also, it's hard to get divorced. It's hard to separate. No one's saying it's easy. But they're being selfish because they're trying to maintain the stability, but also having the pleasure. And that's what's so unhealthy about it. Because you're really being unfair to the person that you're in. I mean, and this is not to
And
even
yourself.
mention like,
yeah,
of course, and we're not mentioning like, STDs and, all the other stuff that you can bring into this relationship. The idea is that you have to remember it's not fair to the other person. And if you really respected the other person, then why put them or you into that situation?
Mm-hmm.
You'll never be relaxed. You're always going to be stressed and emotionally exhausted.
Brain.
Yes.
I can see that.
Yeah.
They
It's true.
say the quality of your relationships, it's equal to the relationship with yourself. That's truth, though, right? So
Yes,
I
very
guess
true.
when you accept something less for you, you're accepting less for the others, and other way around. So we go back to the self-esteem by the end. Yeah, it's always
I mean,
saying
and I think do you know what I think? I think a lot of times people don't understand, a lot of times people, because they don't understand psychology. I mean, they think we just sit there and we talk to people. You don't understand we do, but people don't really understand the psyche and how much we're abusing the psyche. we're abusing ourselves by putting ourselves in these situations. And people don't really realize it because we're so busy and distracted by everything that's happening to us that, you know, they don't really realize that this is taking a toll on you without them really realizing it's taking a toll. And then by the time they get to me, they're either have, you know, they're having a lot of anxiety. I mean, mainly with affairs, I always get them to have anxiety attacks. They have a lot of anxiety in general, or maybe because the other person decided that I want to terminate this, and then now they're having, you know, a lot of separation issues, and a lot of abandonment issues. So they'll come to me. I mean, no one's coming to me and saying, you know, if somebody comes to me and says, "Do you think I should have an affair?" I would rather have that person come so I can give them my opinion versus someone. Most of the time they come. And then, you know, they come by trying to justify that I do have this relationship, but this person is bad to me. This person has done so many things to me. And then I don't know why people don't want to just close one thing and then you move on to another thing. Regardless if this relationship is going to work or not, that's not the point. The point is you are mistreating your psyche. And I think people don't really get it, you know?
Or maybe not close it, but see that if your attention is going outside, means there is a gap where the light's going inside, so you need to work on something. Yeah.
Yes, it's very true. And you need to, plus how are you going to work on a relationship when your mind is somewhere else? I mean, for God's sake.
I also read your mind, you are where your mind is. So yeah, definitely you're not there. Yeah.
Right. So when people like have problems, like, I mean, I don't understand how you're going to work on it if you're distracted with somebody else.
Yeah.
That person is also taking your energy. And, you know, if you don't want to work on your relationship, fine, then just be honest. I mean, there's the best motto is to be honest, no matter how much it hurts the person in front of you, because ultimately they're going to find out. Look, I truly believe nothing goes secret forever.
No, I do believe that as well. We
Definitely,
say life has very short
lives.
very short legs. Yeah, this is a very typical quote, Spanish quote. You know, we quote everything.
Very true. And you know, because I believe that, maybe that's the reason why I try to not to live these lies, because I believe that I'd rather be honest and I say it because then it comes out the right way, versus when someone else finds out, it's going to be miscruited and it's never going to be, and you're hurting the person anyways. So if you don't want to tell them that I don't love you, and then they find out later that you were, you know, in another relationship, they're going to be more hurt. I have more respect for someone to come and say, and it's healthier to come and say, look, I'm done with lying. I'm done with all of this drama and living these double lives. I want to be honest. And honesty frees you, makes you feel free.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And decide. But people don't want to make a decision, see? They want to be able to have the cake and eat it too, you know?
Yeah.
So I want to have my love and my girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever, my relationship, but I also want to have the stability of a person who's taking care of us, either raising my children or financially stabilizing me. And people need to be honest. Like, you just can't live like that. Something gotta go. Whatever it is that gotta go.
Yeah, you always lose something to win something. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So we have a live question that says, can you talk about ghosting?
Ghosting.
Yeah, ghosting is when
like
you're chatting with someone and suddenly they disappear. But I mean, that's quite obvious. Like if they're ghosting you, they're not interested. They're not good people.
Yeah, I mean, I know what ghosting is, but can we talk about ghosting? Does that mean like they want to know why do people ghost?
Yeah, probably like why are they ghosting them? Why someone will start chatting on you and then suddenly just disappear? But I mean, I think that's just saying everything already.
Yeah, I mean, they're either not interested or they're afraid.
They change their mind.
Yeah, or they're afraid to be, you know, sometimes people ghost, and I've seen that is because, I mean, they could have changed their mind, but sometimes I see that they're getting closer to you and then they want to back off because they're scared of abandonment. They have commitment issues. They have relationship issues. So sometimes you'll see them doing that. Like they either felt like they were getting closer to you and they don't want that to happen, so they'll ghost you and they'll come back a little later, or that they feel that they don't want to invest in a relationship. They know, especially in this culture, there's a lot of people
Oh,
that
they
are
lie.
really,
Maybe they lie on
or they lied
something.
and they know you're going to find out, or that they think that it's not going to go anywhere anyways, or that
I
you're not
think
going to like them.
the solution will be to value yourself anyway.
And if they're ghosting
Because
me, I don't
someone
want
can
them anyways.
come and go into your life like that. You
Yeah.
have to.
I mean, that says a lot about this person. That means that they're not good communicators, that they are not going to be able to support you when you need them. When the tough gets tougher, they're not going to be around because they're constantly trying to protect themselves if it is because of commitment issues. So why do I need to be in that kind of a relationship?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, like he said, he was talking to someone and things went really well, and suddenly someone blocked you. Yeah, it does
Yeah.
hurt, especially when they give you hope, but the person is already letting you know it's not interested. I mean,
Or
personally,
they're
even if
lying
they
to
come
you, you
back
know?
with a
Yeah.
good explanation, I would not accept it unless like something very bad happened. And even if
Yeah.
something very bad happened and things were going very good, why I didn't got my explanation? You know, they
Mm-hmm.
didn't put you in the situation. So, yeah,
Yeah, it's true. They're
it's a
not
life
interested.
lesson. It's a life lesson.
But that says a lot about the person who's thinking about why is he ghosting me? Like why can't you not accept that probably, you know, he wasn't interested. And it's like we don't want to be rejected. We always want to be wanted. So
Yeah,
as soon as they ghost us, it becomes so personal. Like, you know, what is it about me? Why does it have to be about me? It's not about me. It's about the way they handle situations,
yeah. And let's
you
see the
know?
positive. At least
Yeah.
he's asking if she should accept it. I mean, that's your decision. But
Should she
think,
accept it? It's up to her.
yeah, yeah. But I mean, I forgot what I was going to say. It's kind of like I lost the point because yeah, exactly. They came back. I would personally, I wouldn't accept it because I don't think someone can come and go like that and just ghost you without a
Right.
real reason. It's just not giving you any trust on
I mean,
it.
to me, I would always be wondering, why would I want to invest more energy because this person's going to ghost me again and again? Like I
I
said,
know.
I would be like you. Like if they disappear because they had a car accident,
Yeah.
there was
Anything.
something that physically stopped them from being able to communicate with me. I understand, but why would I be able to continue investing in a situation that I know that I might get hurt?
Exactly.
You know, because if I get close to this person at any time they ghost me, I mean they're making all the decisions here. They can
Yeah.
ghost me, they can talk to me, and what are you teaching this person if you accepted it? It means that you are,
Exactly.
yeah, exactly. So
What are you telling about yourself? Of course, it's going to do it again because
of
you're
course,
giving it rights to do it again.
yeah.
And I remember what I was going to say. It's more like it's blessed somehow it happened in the beginning and they're just
Mm,
blocking you so they're letting you know before you move forward and it
mm,
happens. So to me,
exactly.
if it happened, I'd be like, thank you for it's a way of saying I'm not interested. Maybe it hurts less than saying it on the face, I'm not interested in you. And
Mm,
just life goes on.
it's true, very true.
We have six more minutes.
Yeah,
So we
and
have two more questions.
yeah,
So what blocks us to move forward?
what blocks us to move forward?
That's kind of like why we don't make decisions.
I think fear is the biggest block, actually. We're afraid of what we don't know, so we have a hard time because you know the known is easy, even though we're miserable. It's the same thing as why people don't leave, you know, abusive relationships or you know, relationship with narcissists who are constantly lying and cheating. Or we do, you know, because I think we're afraid. We don't know if we can. We don't have confidence. I mean, a lot of times people don't move forward because they're afraid. They don't have confidence. So, you know, you gotta face your fear, understand it's fear, and understand that I am, you know, these are my fears. I write them down and then challenge myself to see if I can figure them out.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly. Just do it.
just do it. Exactly.
And last one. Should we all go to the psychiatrist? I'm sorry, psychologist. No,
Psychologist.
no, no, no. Psychologist. I don't know why I read that.
Yeah, I mean, of course, should we all go? I mean, I don't know if we all go, but
I love
you
talking to
know,
you. So, I mean, I wouldn't mind.
I mean, a lot of
This,
people say to me, I love the idea that, yeah, I have several people, especially with teletherapy. I mean, they could be in their pajamas and they're like in their bed and they're like, I'm always waiting for my appointment with you, even if they don't have anything to say to me, because, it's like, I just feel like this is my time. I have somebody to
yeah,
listen to me. And sometimes it's nothing like, I mean, I'm not giving advice all the time. That's not why we're there. We're there to listen. I mean, I had somebody the other day is like, they were talking about things that they have never talked to anyone about, a
exactly.
situation that happened to them like several years ago. And then after that, it's like, oh my God, I feel so good. Why didn't I think about this before? It's like
Yeah.
the ability to be able to have this person in your life that no one else knows about. I mean, it's up to you. You can say whatever. It's non-judgmental, very relaxing
Open your
atmosphere.
thoughts. Not gonna
And
judge you.
of course. And then they're not going to, I mean, like I said, I always tell people, because sometimes somebody says, I don't know if I should tell you this. I said, look, at my age, there's nothing you're going to tell me I haven't heard.
And you feel release anyway, I'm sure.
Of course. Sometimes
Yeah.
I wish I can have a psychologist, to be honest. I mean, I know most of them here in the US. When I was training for my graduate program, my doctorate, we had to go to a psychologist,
Yeah.
because it was very important that before they graduate you, that you work on your unresolved issues, because they
Exactly.
don't want you to have these unresolved issues and then bring them out in the therapeutic without you knowing. Or sometimes, like, if you've got issues with your mom and then you have a client that looks like your mom, it's called transference. So or countertransference. It's like, you're seeing this person who's reminding you of your mom, but you're not really conscious about it. So you're responding in the volume, you're responding in the area. So they used to say, you have to go and work on things, because you can't help people and then we also had to come up with triggers, for example, like substance abuse is not my thing. I mean, I see them sometimes, especially alcoholics. Like, I know they're triggers for me, right? So I don't really work with a lot of people that have substance abuse. After I had my kids, I stopped. I mean, I used to work with a lot of sexual abuse victims, especially children. That was one of my training, right? But then when I had kids, I realized that was a trigger for me. Like, it made me sad to see kids that were sexually abused or physically abused. So, that's what therapy does. It teaches you what are your triggers.
Yeah.
It teaches you what you can work and can't work with. And so, everyone should try it. I mean, you don't have to go there forever. Just try 5 sessions. That's what I tell people. Try 5 sessions and that's it. Some people don't need more than 5 sessions, to be honest. And some people need a year. I don't know.
Yeah, some
Yes,
people
everyone.
also get addicted to therapy, so they don't decide for their own thing. So I guess
Yeah,
there's
yeah,
both sides of the things, yeah.
that's
But I think
true.
it's lovely to have someone to talk, honestly. Like,
Yeah,
especially there's a lot of lonely people, or they can't trust their family or their friends, or they only have it's her and her husband, for example. So who is she gonna talk to? And we know, especially here, I can say it because I'm foreign. Like, everybody talks a lot, so you're not gonna tell
yeah,
something so personal to a friend, maybe. So
yeah.
definitely, I think it's just an amazing option to have
And for
two.
me, it's an advantage because I'm not Kuwaiti. I'm American. Of course, I'm from a Arab, background, so I speak Arabic. So I think a lot of times people feel safe with me because I don't know families here.
Yeah, I
I
can
mean,
see
I've been
that.
here 15 years, but I never wanted to know who belongs to who. Like, I wouldn't know what your last name belongs to, which last name. So sometimes it's an advantage because I'm not in that Kuwaiti circle anyways. I'm more of the American circle. So a lot of times because you're a foreigner, people understand that you're not going to be able to, make judgment or connect them to another family or another
Yeah,
person because Kuwait is very
yeah,
small.
yeah.
So I think it works out a lot for my advantage. But then on the other advantage is like, maybe they want someone that is Kuwaiti and that's culturally very familiar. But it doesn't matter. And then, it's a relationship. Some people come and they don't like my roughness, how I'm in your face kind of therapist. And some people, they want somebody to be straightforward with them. So it's a relationship. You
Yeah,
have
but
to like
inside
me.
we're
I have
all
to
the
like
same.
you.
Doesn't matter which culture you saw. We're all the
Of
same.
course, of course. But it's a relationship. You have to be able to like the person,
We
you
got
know?
45 seconds for the closure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, look
Thank
at
you
all
so
this.
much.
Thank you.
That was amazing questions, amazing answers. Mariam, please join our next live so we can answer your question as well. right? Like the guy that say that they were doing the ghosting. You have
Yeah.
all of us. There's so many people in the world, like so many. Just go to the next one, really.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Dr.
It's
Dinkha. It was
great
lovely to
seeing
have
you.
you.
Thank you. I'm so
I will
happy
see
to
you
see
next
you.
Thursday.
Next Thursday.
And today we're
Bye.
gonna end it before it shuts us off. It's 9 seconds, so thank you so much for everyone for watching us, and see you in the next one. Bye bye.
Bye.
3,
Bye bye.
2, 1.